having these two basic understandings, I think, is a foundation of having a more pragmatic and a more nuanced way to manifest. Do we really want to manifest desires that are in misalignment with our life purpose? Yes, the law of attraction is powerful, but let's not forget that there are other laws out there that are equally powerful.
Welcome to the High Vibe Life podcast, where we are obsessed with all things manifestation, neuroscience, personal growth, and quite simply, living a life beyond our wildest dreams. I'm Moira Casaba, author, speaker, podcaster, manifestation, and mindset master. Since getting sober 25 years ago, I've helped tens of thousands of women break through and achieve massive levels of wealth, joy, and freedom. Now it's your turn. Let's dig in. Welcome back to the show, you guys. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited to introduce a new friend of mine and somebody I am so excited to just really pick your brain and figure out and find out all the things. George Lizos is in the show on the podcast today. Welcome, George.
Oh my goodness. Hello. I'm so grateful to be here.
Yes, you are coming all the way from, how crazy is this? Because I just got back from your country. Where are you tuning in from, George?
I'm tuning in from Cyprus right now, and you came back from Greece, and I'm actually going to Greece in next month. So I'm so excited to go to Athens as well.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, so you're over in that part of the world, all the way across the globe. This is so fun to be able to connect. And I always ask this because, right, I could sit here and go, George is da-da-da-da, and I can list all these accolades, all the books that you've written. Oh my goodness, George, you're just whipping them out, and you just published one literally this week. So I want you to share all about that. But what would you tell the audience? Who is George Lizos?
So I would define myself as a spiritual teacher and a psychic healer. My whole purpose is to help people find the tools and the practices that they need to follow and fulfill their life purpose. So all the 5 books that I've written are all tools and practices and modalities all around protecting your energy, finding your life purpose, manifesting your life purpose, and really tuning into our authenticity.
Oh, you are speaking my language. This is, if you could look at the books on my nightstand and in my bookshelves, it's just every single book that's ever been published in that umbrella, in that realm, I've got it. This is so fun. So, and I think you probably like me, it's really important to be able to give people actual tools and practices and tangible tips. And, it's one thing to listen to a podcast and it just kind of sit there in your mind. It's a different thing to actually do something after that podcast, right? Put something into practice, start to develop habits and rituals in your life that are the difference makers for manifesting the things we want to manifest. So where should we begin? If you were just talking to this broad audience of people that are thinking, gosh, I've heard about manifestation. I think that's that law of attraction thing. Everybody these days is talking about energy. Where would you start them, George, if you're just listen, this is the 101 on it?
Yeah, well, I'm going to start with the tough love part of it because there are so many, as you said, manifestation books out there. So why write another one? And the reason I wrote this book is because I'm actually going against a lot of the manifestation teachings out there, and I'm introducing a different perspective about them. For example, many people think and teach that the law of attraction is the most powerful law in the universe. Yes, it is a powerful law, but it's not more powerful than the law of gravity. You cannot visualize yourself flying and manifest flying, for example. You cannot go against the laws of physics and the laws of biology. And therefore, yes, the law of attraction is powerful, but let's not forget that there are other laws out there that are equally powerful that we need to work with and collaborate with to manifest our desires. And in Ancient Manifestation Secrets, I talk about the 7 laws of the universe as taught by the ancient Greeks and Egyptians. The other thing is, there is this common belief that you can manifest anything you want. It is true you can manifest a lot of things, but as I said, you cannot manifest changing the color of your eyes just by your will. Right. So certain things can manifest, but the things that are outside of universal law cannot really manifest. And truly, do we really want to manifest desires that are in misalignment with our life purpose? Because we come here with a very specific purpose. Let's find their purpose and choose desires aligned to that rather than solely manifesting out of a place of ego.
Yes.
So having these two basic understandings, I think, is the foundation of having a more pragmatic and a more nuanced way to manifest.
So good, and so right. And you're absolutely right. I think everybody just like grabs a hold of law of attraction. And I'm like, there's a lot more to it, right? So you in your new book talk about these seven different, laws in. I don't know if we have time to go through all seven, but how do you want to approach that? Because of course, me being a student of yours right now, I'm like, okay, tell me all seven, tell me everything. But where would you start? Like, these are the most important, these are the most powerful. Where do people start? Because you do talk about all of this in, George, a completely radically different way than I've ever heard, which is so refreshing, right? It's like most manifestation teachers out there, I'm hearing the exact same thing from every single one of them, which is great because we know repetition is the mother of all skill. We need to hear this stuff repeated. But you're using words and laws and things that I'm like, whoa, I've never even heard of this. So where would you begin with that?
So I'm going to share the laws, just read them so people are aware. And then I want to focus on a couple of them that I think are most important in this conversation that we're having that will help people really upgrade their manifestation journey. So we have the law of mentalism that says that the all is mind, the universe is mental. Basically, everything starts with a mental image.
Yeah.
Then we have the law of correspondence, teaching that as above, so below, as below, so above, meaning there is correspondence between the different planes of existence. And we can't receive help from above, essentially, because the same laws that work in our plane work in the spiritual plane. We have the law of vibration, teaching that, which is a law of attraction, teaching that nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. No need to explain this one. We've all heard enough about the law of attraction. Then we have the law of polarity, teaching that everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has its pair of opposites. Wherever we are in our lives, whatever we're feeling, we automatically have access to the exact opposite because of the law of polarity. The law of rhythm teaches that everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. There's a pendulum swing in life, in all part of the cosmos and ourselves. And it's okay if we're not feeling well sometimes. But we can use a law of neutralization, which is a secondary law to the law of rhythm, to neutralize the downward swing of the pendulum. So when life is not going so well, we have our spiritual practice to maintain a high vibrational frequency. And when the pendulum is swinging to the upward side and we're feeling joyful, let's ride that wave and experience ecstasy. And then we have the law of cause and effect, which is the one I want to focus on. The law of cause and effect teaches that every cause has its effect. Every effect has its cause. Essentially, for every effect manifestation, there are a series of causes that lead to that. Popular manifestation teachings say that the only cause to our effect is our vibrational frequency, the way we think and feel. However, there are little known causes that we are not aware of. There are karmic contracts, promises we made in our past life about what we want to experience in this lifetime. Karmic relationships, agreements we made with people to meet in this lifetime and have different experiences with one another, lessons we want to learn. We have our soul purpose, a purpose fulfilled over several lifetimes that we should not go against. We have collective intentionality, and therefore what we manifest as a group, as a collective human society. We manifested COVID together. So when we take all these causes into account, then we realize it's not just our vibrational frequency. There are other things at play here, and we need to start using them in our manifestation. And then finally, law number 7, the law of gender, saying that gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles, meaning we cannot exhaust ourselves in this hustle culture, work. We need to balance work with receiving, and the action we should be taking needs to be aligned action and therefore be inspired.
Yes. So good. I feel like I have spent time in kind of all of those areas, and you're right, they're very different and they are each so powerful in and of themselves. but they also all kind of integrate and overlap in the most beautiful ways. So goodness gracious, I know you said you want to kind of go deep dive on a couple of them. I'm so curious. Well, gosh, I mean, I have questions about every single one you just mentioned. I'm like, I want to ask about this and this and this and this. But you go ahead and why don't you deep dive on the couple, and then we'll just see where the questions come up for those two.
Yeah, let's deep dive on the law of gender, essentially, that says that gender is in everything. There's masculine and feminine energy everywhere. Mm-hmm. And in the spiritual community, we love spiritually bypassing with a meditation. I'm like, ooh, I need to balance my feminine energy. Let me grab a meditation. And we meditate for 20 minutes and they're like, great, balanced. And I'm like, nope. Not really. To truly balance your masculine and feminine energy, meaning masculine energy, creative, taking action, moving forward, creating structure, and then feminine energy, receiving, unstructured thinking, allowing yourself to like rest. To truly balance that, you need to find that balance in your day-to-day life. So what I like to do and what I teach in Ancient Manifestation Secrets is let's plan our year in advance, our month in advance, every quarter in advance, every month in advance, every week in advance, without overly planning everything. And just knowing that, allowing time for spontaneity. Because when we plan the main things that we do in our lives, then we can plan ahead as to, okay, I have 5 big projects. That's masculine energy in the year. Let me arrange to go to Greece, for example, right after this launch, just so that I can give myself some unstructured energy to rest. And then let's look at our months, at our weeks and our days. Are we truly taking balanced action steps within masculine and feminine energy? Or are we just overworking ourselves? Or what many spiritual people do, just focusing on connecting with spirit and just raising your vibration. I hear people tell me all the time, I'm just raising my vibration and I'm raising the vibration of the planet. I'm like, no, you're not. You're raising the vibration of your room.
Right.
My second book is called Lightworkers Gotta Work, because I was realizing that lightworkers were not working. They were just sitting and meditating all day long, but the world won't change sitting in meditation pillows all day long. So we need to identify, are we in balance in masculine or feminine energy, and how can we bring more balance there? So that's my first deep dive.
I love that so much. I love that you call it the law of gender. It's interesting though. I'm thinking like, stay with us, people. You know, just the good Lord, the word gender can like make people go crazy and put up a wall these days, which is so crazy. But what we're talking about is, because I've really been exploring this the last few years, because I am like so masculine, such an achiever, go-getter, burnout. And I wasn't able to really unlock those next levels, you know, just in the masculine energy. The masculine energy is only going to get you so far, right? And so I really had to, and it's so uncomfortable when we've been living, you know, almost our whole entire life in this one energy. And it was really uncomfortable for me to tap into and understand that, you know, I needed that creative space. For example, it's like, you know, I run a really big company and brand, and it's like, if I'm not allowing myself just creative space, you know, room for things to just, I love the word like to meander, to think and to just allow my thoughts to sift. You know, the next level is not going to be able to come to fruition in my mind. And so we have to give ourselves that space. And it's funny because you say, I love that you say plan, because I'm a planner, shocker, because I'm usually in my masculine energy, you know? So I plan everything out. But you're right. It's planning to have that downtime. It's planning to have that rhythm. It's planning to have kind of those seasons in your life. And gosh, I've just gotten so much better at that over the last few years, but really understanding like you have to, it's just such a rewiring in especially Western culture of like, your next level isn't found by working harder and grinding more and doing more and launching more. It's like your next level is found when you can balance that doing with flow, with rest, with rejuvenation, with just receiving, right? It's like I spent decades just doing. And there really was no space to just allow it to come in. And so it's such a beautiful thing when you can find that dance of the masculine and feminine. And it's a whole nother topic, probably for another podcast, when we start to think about that in relationships, right? Because I can definitely see where that balance of masculine and feminine is so important in a romantic relationship. And if you're feeling like it's out of whack, I just want to encourage anybody listening, go down the rabbit hole of understanding it, because it won't only transform you and your business, it will also radically transform your relationships.
Yeah. And for people like us that are wired to plan, and we are essentially geared towards masculine energy and therefore planning, then it helps us to plan feminine energy. Unless I plan my feminine energy, I'm just going to exhaust myself and burn myself out.
Yeah.
So I'm using my masculine energy to plan feminine energy. Yes. And then for people who are mostly in their feminine energy, they can take a little bit more risk and it's a little bit more challenging for them to start planning. But once you start planning the littlest thing, then you're going to see the benefit of that, and it's going to draw you forward.
Yes. I love this so much because I'm right on the same page with you with I've been stepping more into the world of just publicly talking about manifestation and energy and all of these things. And everybody's just thinks you don't have to do anything. I'm no, that's not what I'm saying. People you still, I think the secret, right? The secret completely missed the mark. Not that it missed the mark completely. It's amazing in lots of ways. But they forgot to talk about the thing called action.
Yes.
Hello, we can visualize it and we can raise our vibration and we can picture it and we can control our thoughts and our words. But if we don't actually do anything, nothing's going to happen. So we have to step into that aligned action as well. It really is, manifestation is this beautiful dance between the doing and the receiving. And that's what we're talking about, the doing being the masculine, the receiving being the feminine.
Yeah, what I say in the book is the universe is not your bitch, meaning we have to collaborate with the universe to manifest our desires. We show up and then the universe shows up for us. It's a collaborative process. Yes, that's, gosh, you are my spirit friend across the big blue ocean, because I just did a podcast on this, because a lot of people look to me and they're like, wait, how can you be Christian and talk about manifestation? And that's so egocentric and it's all about you. And I'm like, no, this is about, if I could replace the word manifestation with the words co-creation, right? I'm co-creating. It's from above and below, just like you said. And it's this beautiful thing that we get to do together. But if I said co-creation, nobody would know what I was talking about. So I use the word manifestation, but I can get a lot of kickback about that. But it's this beautiful co-creation that we get to do. Exactly, yes.
Yeah. Okay, keep going. I want to hear more. Tell us about the next deep dive on the next one.
Second deep dive, the law of cause and effect that I referred to briefly previously, in this idea that there are many causes leading to a manifestation of something. For example, karmic contracts, these pre-birth plans that we made before we were born. Mm-hmm. So for those people who believe in reincarnation, it's this idea that the ancient Greeks talked about, that we have these soul groups and we incarnate together in this world for the purpose of experiencing different things together and taking different roles in each other's lives so that we can grow together. So if we created this idea that, okay, I want to come here and I'm going to meet with you and you're going to challenge me in this relationship, but that's just so I can learn how to love myself more, how to place boundaries, for example. That is a pre-birth manifestation. So yes, we chose it, but not from this physical body. We chose it from a soul perspective. Mm-hmm. We also have karmic curses. Now, karmic curses are a psychic attack that spans lifetime. It's basically someone cursing us or attacking us in a past lifetime and having that have an effect in this lifetime. Oof. We also have the most important thing, our soul purpose, a purpose fulfilled over several lifetimes. And we come here for a very specific purpose. So do we truly want to choose desires outside of that, or do we want to collaborate with our soul to choose specific desires? So from this perspective, not all desires can manifest, and we shouldn't want them to manifest because they may not be in alignment with our life purpose. So truly, whatever religion, whatever spiritual beliefs you have, when you tune yourself into the truth of who you are and align yourself with your inner love and your soul and your purpose and your authentic self, then the desires that come from that perspective are already in alignment with your life purpose. And they manifest so much more easily because the entire universe is like, yay, you found your purpose. Let me come in and support you.
Yes, I love that. And I know for some people might be like, whoa, he just lost me. Like, I don't understand. Or, like I don't believe in, past lives or whatever. I think if we want to bring it down, even just for the sake of like wrapping people's heads around this idea, what you're really saying too is like, we've all heard the philosophy of like, I have to thank God for, unanswered prayers, right? Like where there's been a season in our life where we're desperate for something and like we want it more than anything. And we're like, I don't understand why that didn't happen in my life, or I didn't get the job or whatever it is. And then 3 years later, we're like, oh, thank you, Jesus. Like, thank you, God, that did not happen, because hindsight's 2020, right? We understand later on. And so I think some things we're not going to understand for a long, long time. And I love what you said about soul contracts, like things that our souls really decided to take on in this human experience. I will never forget one of my biggest spiritual mentors, probably when she was now almost my age. She's about 20 years older than me, but she had a horrible disease, almost something similar to like a Lou Gehrig's disease, where it's just a horrible paralysis that's going to slowly happen over time. I mean, it was just this terrible. She was one of the biggest spiritual lights in the world. And I saw her get literally crippled by this horrible disease in her 40s. And then she's been living with that for the last 20 years. But I remember when it happened, I remember being so angry and thinking, how could this happen to somebody like her? Like it made me question everything I ever believed. And I went out to the beach and just went for a walk, and I was consumed by this confusion, right? And I just remember feeling like I was intuitively given this vision of like, because this is what she signed up for. Like, she is that incredible of a person on earth that she chose this path to teach others before she ever entered into this world. And I just like, it just made so much, it just resonated with me. I was like, that makes perfect sense. It made that one thought made everything make sense in an instant, right?
Yeah. When I was 15 years old, I almost took my life because I couldn't accept the fact that I was gay growing up in a society that rejected gay people.
Yeah.
And of course I didn't. And in that moment, like I almost did it. I had an epiphany. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to learn to love and accept myself like exactly as I am. And I didn't know how, but the universe led me on a path to learning to love and accept and forgive myself. And if I hadn't gone through that experience, I wouldn't be here right now teaching this, because as a result of that experience and that my path to healing, I wrote my first book. And that launched my career essentially. And here I am 5 books later. So I believe that my soul planned to go through that experience and all the hardships that I experienced, like growing up, getting bullied, etc., to be able to find that resilience, move on, and come into my purpose.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. It's so beautiful. Can we talk about that? I don't want to pivot away from these laws. Is there another one you want to deep dive on? Because I've got more questions.
Well, actually, these are the main ones. I could deep dive, but if you have a question that you feel it's best, let's go with that one.
Well, here's my thing. I always just want to know like your story, right? And I usually start with that, but we had so many things come up that we just wanted to jump right in. How did you end up on this path? When did you start writing all of these books? Like, how did this all happen for you? You obviously just touched on kind of the beginnings of that, but can we go a little deeper on kind of how this whole journey has transpired for you?
Sure, and thank you for the question.
Yeah.
So growing up in Cyprus, like a tiny island in the Mediterranean, and that's true for all small communities I found chatting with people all around the world, they tend to be very judgmental, the communities. They expect you to be a certain way. You have to be a certain way. You have to dress a certain way. You have to behave a certain way. So growing up, I was a weird kid that spent time out in nature, like talking to plants and looking up at the sky and wondering what is the purpose of life, while everybody else like played in the playground. So I always felt there was something different about me, but I couldn't like quite put a finger to it. So it created this need though that I'm an outcast and I need to change myself constantly to fit into other people's expectations of me. So fast forward to the age of 13 years old, that's me realizing that I'm gay in a country that up to 1994, it was illegal to be gay. And therefore there was a huge stigma around that. Gay people were considered to be pedophiles and criminals in the 90s. So I came into that understanding and I'm like, I'm already the weirdo.
Right.
So I cannot accept yet another label.
Yeah.
Also, I was deep into Christianity. I grew up Orthodox Christian. I would go to church every weekend. I remember in a religious knowledge test at school, I got 103 out of 100 because the teacher was like, you just like do everything, you just show up, you do even more than what like was expected. So I was like model kid to God.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, I cannot accept that about myself. Otherwise, I'm not going to make it in the world. So let me just change myself, do what I've always done, change myself from gay to straight one step at a time. So that's when I entered the two most debilitating years of my life. Wow. Because for 2 years straight, every single day, I would try to monitor the way I walked, the way I talked, the way I behaved, the way I thought to make myself straight. Yeah. And 2 years down the line, when I couldn't change who I was born to be, and I ended up being this robotic kind of person, talking in a robotic way, moving in a robotic way, just so I wasn't feminine, I called myself a human abomination. I wrote a letter to my parents, and I'm like, what is the point of living? I'm not going to make it anyway. And I got a bunch of pills and I was ready to put an end to it. And it was in that moment, just before I did it, that I had that epiphany. And I'm like, you know what? There is a different way. I can learn to love and accept myself, and I can search to find a belief system that aligns with who I am. Yeah. So I didn't do it. And I had no idea how to love myself because all I experienced was self-judgment, loathing, and bullying. But I was willing to learn how. And that's when my first spiritual book popped up. And I read that book and I learned to like forgive myself and love myself. And that led me to another one and all the different modalities that got me into a spiritual path. And then when I was 23 years old, I'm like, ooh, I feel good about myself. I have all these tools. Let me share them with people. Yeah. And that's when I wrote my first book, Be the Guru. And the funny thing is, I started my journey wanting to help gay people. Yeah. And I ended up working with middle-aged women.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. Well, I mean, it kind of makes sense to me. I get that. I'm like, there is definitely a love and an attraction there. That is hysterical. So you wrote your first book. I mean, you're 23 years old. Most people don't think, where does that belief in yourself come from? Like, I'm just going to write a book. And do you self-publish? Do you think we're just going to see what happens? Like, what are you doing work-wise when you decide to write the book? Are you teaching at that point? Are you coaching? Yeah. Do you have classes? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. First of all, I want to tell people that if I could write a book and publish and be a published author, you can, because hear this out. I only started speaking English when I was properly English when I was 15 years old. Wow. Before that, it was just Greek. My first English test, I got 50 out of 100 and I'm like, oh my God. Wow. And then my teacher was like, you have to read 25 pages of an English book per day to like improve your English. And here I am. So I had to overcome a lot of fears and limiting beliefs before I was able to write that. Yeah. And if I could do it, anybody can. Yeah. Now, I do coach people one-on-one and I help them publish their books. I actually used to work for a publishing house. I used to work for Hay House.
Are you serious?
In the UK. Yes, I worked at the offices.
Okay, do you want to hear something insane?
Yes, please.
I am literally getting ready to submit my book proposal to Hay House this week.
Are you kidding me?
I'm like, this is crazy.
Wow.
Wow. Anyway, keep going.
Well,
This
talking about
is meant to
manifestation.
be. Talk about manifestation, right?
Yeah. So that was me living in London essentially for 3 years. I was 7 years in the UK and I did that. But essentially I started publishing from a self-publishing perspective because I self-published my first 2 books. Then I hybrid published another book. Then I worked for the publishing in the publishing industry. And then eventually went to like traditional publishing.
Yeah.
So there are so many options right now to like share our message and let's do it because that's working our light. Not just feeling it and saying, raising my vibration and raising the vibration of the world. No, write that book and put it out there.
Yeah. Do you feel like that book changed everything for you? Because that's what I feel like God, universe, whatever you want to call it, is calling me to. It's like, it's calling me to kind of push the busy aside and like, this is your life's work. Like one of my friends asked me yesterday, because she was like, I didn't know you were writing a book. And I was like, this is the way, this is how I feel right now. I'm like, if somebody said you have a month to live, that would be my regret. That would be my only regret is that like, I didn't put what's up here into a book and like give it to the world. Like it would be my biggest regret. So it's been like more and more of a monkey on my back where I'm like, I have to do this, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's part of your purpose as it's part of my purpose as well. And I don't think that it's everybody's purpose to write books, although we all could write a book. But if you have that feeling, that is a law of gender in action because you are receiving this information and you're receiving the guidance, write the book. And then you have to use the masculine energy of actually sitting down and writing the proposal and like pitching it to publishers. And in the book, I talk about our desires as being these orbs of light and they move around the universe and they search for compatible hosts. And once they find a compatible host, the desire will make contact and be like, hey, can you help me like manifest coming to the world? They're flirting with you and you're like, maybe, or you're like, sure. And then you start flirting with that desire. If you ignore it, it's going to move on to another host and someone else will publish that book. So what I teach in the book, basically, it's a process of manifesting with the energy field. Taking that orb of the desire, planting it within your energy field, within your aura, and then nurturing that energy and going a step further, reaching out and connecting energetically to people, to publishers, to companies, to organizations, to entities, to God that can help you manifest that desire. And this way, you magnetize your desires energetically to you. There are many ways to think about that. This is a woo-woo way. But if you like a more pragmatic way, think of the idea that your desires will leave you if you don't manifest them.
Yeah. And I get that. And I think I would guess that other people can see that because there have been things in my lifetime where they've been so overwhelming and I didn't do it. Right. And those are some of those like regrets that we live with. And not regret that we like regret it for the rest of our life. But I can look back and I can go now, like I just know enough now to know that if I had done that, if I had pursued that at 25 years old, it would have put me on a completely different path and it would have worked. Like, that's the thing. It's like, you know, once you start to really work with your intuition and work with, you know, all these things that we're talking about, it's not a like, if it's going to work, it's like, oh, no, that would have totally worked. But I was too fearful. I was too insecure. I was too scared. And now it's like we gotta really listen to that and take those leaps of faith and just put it into action.
Can I share a quick story about that I think will resonate with many people? The way I manifested this book. So I wrote this book in 2021. I went to Delphi in Greece and I booked 10 days in a cabin there and I channeled the practices in the book. I was so excited by the end of it. I pitched it to my publisher at the time and they rejected it, saying it's too advanced and people are not ready for this in content yet. Why don't you write a book about the Greek gods and goddesses? I'm like, okay. So I write a book about the Greek gods and goddesses that came out this year, in April, called Secrets of Greek Mysticism.
Yes.
And then I'm like, you know what? I'm a Leo. And I love this quote by Kris Jenner. She said, if someone says no, you're talking to the wrong person. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to let a publisher dictate when I can publish this book. I'm going to search and find a different publisher. So it took me 4 years to actually publish this book. And the other one came out in April, and now I'm publishing this one.
Wow.
So what happened? Some people could say, okay, your manifestation was wrong. It didn't work. You did something wrong. But I knew better to know that, you know what, there's a timing component here. Cause and effect. There are causes that I'm not aware of. People coming together, the universe like organizing synchronicities to allow this book to come out at the perfect time. And now I realize in hindsight, it had to come out now after the book about the Greek gods and goddesses, where I talk about the ancient Greeks and their perspective on manifestation, so that my audience is ready to receive this second stage, this second level of the content. So if your desire is not manifesting, it may not be that you're doing something wrong. It's just a matter of timing. And there are unseen factors and forces working behind the scenes for you. Yes.
I love that story, George, so much. And I think what you're saying is if you feel it, right? If it's still on your heart, even if you're bumping up against those, brick walls, it's like you might just need it to go around the brick walls, right? I mean, I think not just timing for your second book or your fifth book, really. Isn't it your fifth book?
It's the fifth one, yes.
Yeah. Your fifth book, it's probably not just timing, but it was you were meant to publish with those people, right? And I'm sure that 6 months, a year from down the road, it's like those people are going to lead you to, introductions and different things that you're like, wow, you just keep, it always continues to stack, like, right? Once it happens, you can look back and go, all of these things, like there's just a journey that this is the way it had to happen and the timing. And so, yes, you're absolutely right. Like keep pursuing those callings on your heart.
Yeah, cause and effect. And the effect is also a cause for another effect and another effect and another effect. So it's a never-ending journey of like every action, everything we do contributes to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Yes.
Oh my gosh, so good. So 2 books in 1 year. So what does the rest of your work life look like, your practice? Like how are you, and I kind of did a deep dive on you have a course, right? You have a couple different things that are available. I just want people to like have access to everything that you're offering and how they can work with you in all the different ways. Can you share about that?
Of course, thank you. So I work one-on-one with people. I do psychic clearing sessions where I scan into people's energy, identify blocks, fears, and limiting beliefs. And then I use both psychological, like psychotherapeutic practices, but also energetic practices to help people get unstuck and move on. But I also have courses and monthly workshops. My main 2 courses is Intuition Mastery School, where I teach people, essentially I train psychics and intuitives on how to like do this work. And the other one is called Psychic Healing Practitioner Course, where I train psychic healers and therefore how to clear people's energy and do all these energetic kind of healing. So that is my woo-woo side, but I also have the very like masculine oriented side where I coach people to write and publish their books. And I do these like one-on-one as well. I do business mentoring session. So it's bridging my masculine and feminine energies together.
And that's where the magic is. It wasn't until I started to really go deeper on the whole masculine feminine energy thing that I realized that I was like, oh, that is a part of why I've been so successful, because I kind of have both extremes and, bringing them to the surface because I'm super intuitive, which is feminine, right? And then like my go, like type A, Enneagram 3, that's all the masculine. And it sounds like you have that exact same thing too, which I love. Tell me this, what does your daily kind of practice look like? Like what are your habits? What are your rituals? What do you do to kind of maintain your own vibration and your own, frequency?
First of all, I love that you're an Enneagram 3. I thought I was a 3 as well, but I am a 1. And 1 and 3 are very similar. So I'm the perfectionist reformer, all about like creating change. Let's see how we can problem solve, but I'm also an achiever.
Yes.
So I get it.
Yes.
So my daily practice, this is a practice I actually teach in the book, and it's something I practice every single morning. I took the practice from Gala Darling, and then I expanded it, and I actually have her, and I quote her in the book. Mm-hmm. So it's called the Magical Morning Practice. Mm-hmm. So I start my day by sending a voice message to my best friend, and in that message, I state what I'm grateful for. I just randomly, whatever comes to mind, I'm grateful for this, blah, 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 blah. What that does is, first of all, it transmutes any negativity that's currently in my mind, because gratitude is a transmuting emotion, but at the same time, it raises my vibrational frequency. And then after doing that, I follow up with that message by sharing my desires for the day, my intentions for the day, how I want my day to unfold in the past tense. So today I woke up in the morning, I walked my dog, I went to school, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So you're projecting what you want to happen in the past. So you're already believing subconsciously it happened.
Yeah.
And then step number 3, I talk about what I want to manifest in the future in the past tense. Today, I'm like, I signed my first contract for a Broadway musical because I'm an actor as well.
Yeah.
So I was projecting that into the past to like convince my subconscious mind that it's already there, I'm already happening. And I've been doing that for the past 4 years. And I've manifested so many things. It's amazing how quickly you manifest.
Yeah.
And then I took that practice and I expanded it. So in the middle of the day, I send another voice message to another best friend. I got them all into it. And I say what I'm grateful for so far in the day. So anything negative that happened, I transmute it. But at the same time, I raise my vibration by sharing what I'm grateful for in general so far in the day. And then at the end of the day, I send another voice message to another best friend, and I share what I'm grateful for throughout the day.
Yeah.
And then finally, a final voice message to a fourth best friend, sharing my highlight of the day, my number one thing that happened during the day. So I start and continue my day and end my day in gratitude. And it's amazing how easily you can manifest when you are in that vibrational state.
Wow. Okay. I need to be in this best friend group, George. I need to get in the voice message loop. I do this, and it's so crazy. I mean, gosh, we are such kindred spirits, because I teach and have in my morning practice journal the whole past tense thing, right? Like speaking as if it has already happened. So it is so powerful, because that's the energy we have to step into, right? Like it just is. It's already happened, not these things I want to manifest are out here in my future, because if you think of them that way, they will stay out there, right? We have to embody it now. But what you're doing is even taking it such a step further, because of course, how easy is it for me to not do it by myself? You know what I mean? If it's like, oh, well, every morning I try to say in my own brain what I'm grateful for. But then that can easily just fall by the wayside. But you're taking a concrete action where it's so clear if you didn't leave that message in the morning, if you didn't leave that message in the afternoon, if you didn't leave that message in the evening. And so I love that so much. And I'm going to bring it into my inner circle, that practice.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
The fabulous thing about that is that when your friend listens to your message, they amplify that energy. So it like doubles essentially the energy you're putting out there. And then they share their own thing and you help them with that as well. Yeah. So you have the law of reciprocity there as well. So there are so many things at play here.
That is so good. So good. I have one of my best friends. We kind of do this with each other when like any kind of crazy, like insane manifestation or like synchronicity happens, you know, we call each other because we know that it just elevates the other one, but we're not doing it 3 times a day. That is magic. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Are there any parting words that you want to share with my audience? Anything that you can just say, hey, this is just this one little nugget I want to leave you with?
Yes, something that everybody can do right now. And this is my go-to tool to align myself to my authenticity and to realize that I am a creator and we are in this ocean of source, the ocean of the gods, essentially, and we can manifest everything we want because we have agency, we have power. So at several times during the day, just stop, place one hand on your heart, close your eyes, take a deep breath in and say, wake up. And the intention here is to wake up to your inner divinity, wake up to your inner magic, wake up to the realization that you're not just a physical body, but you're an extension of source. Wake up to the idea that you are a powerful creator. Wake up to life around you and realize how lucky you are to live in this world, to live this life, to be able to create, to be able to smell the flowers and look at the sky. Wake up to the magnificence of yourself and the world. It's such a simple reminder, but yet it's so powerful in aligning you to your authenticity.
Oh my goodness. What a gift you are. And that is truly just that wake up. I mean, George, that is so powerful because I think people understand this, but it's like we have this personality, this ego, this human part that we're usually operating in, 99% of the time. But the bigger part of us truly is our spirit, our soul, like our, what's going to be here after we die. And it's like, that's what we're called. That's what you're saying. Like we need to wake up that part of ourselves. That is so beautiful. So beautiful. George, thank you so much for this time. Thank you for making my whole day, probably my whole week. This whole conversation has been such a gift, and you've left us with such incredible tangible takeaways that I love. I always say this podcast is not something to just listen to. It's something that I hope that my listeners are always taking action from. And so we're going to link everything in the show notes where people can find you. But will you just share that kind of website, social media, all of that?
Of course, you can find me on Instagram where I live at George Lizos. And you can go to my website, georgelizos.com, to find out all about my services and workshops. And to get the book, go to ancientmanifestationsecrets.com, because when you get it, you also get a free workshop with me all about retrieving manifestation skills from your past lives. So if you want that freebie, make sure to go to that as well.
Wow. Well, I'm headed there the second we wrap up this call. So I will be there getting all the goodies and working with you. This has been absolutely amazing. So anybody that's listening, if you would tag myself, tag George in this episode, share it with your friends, share it on your socials. We'd love to just get this episode out to as many people because I know it's going to impact so many people. So again, George, thank you from the bottom of my heart for being here. I'm so grateful for this introduction and this relationship. And everybody else, we will see you next week.
Thank you so much.